Hey everyone, the elementarist here, and today's topic is Grantian functions versus Hekatior deep processing, clearing up the confusion. There is a lot of misunderstanding in the typology community about what Grantian functions really are and how they compare to Hekatior's deep processing layers. This post aims to clarify those differences, highlight key historical context, and explain why Hekatior represents a genuine evolution beyond Grantian functions clusters. What are Grantian functions? Grantian functions are essentially clusters of traits corresponding wrongly to MBTI temperament dichotomies. For example, Grantian any equal MP traits. The Grantian system was initially popularized online by theorists like Linda Behrens and John Beebe, but its origin traces back to an old religious book, a fact often overlooked, written by Harold Grant. Grantian functions in relation to Hekatior processing layers. For this analysis, I'm considering patterns of Grantian functions as they appear in the top two of Grantian types such as Grantian NETI, AK, and P traits, PTP traits. Grantian any MP traits tend to be an intuitive lead in Hekatior, meaning the psychological function of intuition operates fully without restrictions. This accounts for the divergence and idea generation often associated with Grantian any, AK, and P traits. Grantian NI and J traits tend to have intuition auxiliary in Hekatior, meaning intuition supports the demands of a main rational frame, thinking or feeling. This explains the planning and convergence themes often associated with Grantian NI, AK, and J traits. Grantian SE, SP traits tend to be a sensation lead in Hekatior. Grantian SI, SJ traits tend to have sensation auxiliary in Hekatior. Interestingly enough, a differentiation pattern of equijective rational leads with sensation auxiliary is quite common in Enneagram Type 6, explaining the SJ stereotypes of Type 6 in the typology community. Grantian TE, TJ traits tend to be thinking lead in Hekatior. Grantian TI, TP traits tend to have thinking auxiliary in Hekatior. Grantian FE, FJ traits tend to be feeling lead in Hekatior. Grantian FI, FP traits tend to have feeling auxiliary in Hekatior. Why does this matter? Grantian functions are not Jungian functions in the full dynamic sense. They are static clusters that often miss the deep interplay and fluidity of psychological processing. Hekatior trialectified expansion to Jung for the modern psyche. Hekatior offers a trialectical layered understanding of psychological processing. It reveals how preferred action response, preferential orientation, and the four psychological functions, intuition, thinking, sensation, and feeling, interact dynamically in ways Grantian functions cluster just cannot capture. This difference is crucial for anyone serious about typology and personality theory. Conflating these systems leads to misunderstanding and misapplication. Isabel Myers Briggs herself was an INFJ in denial who self-typed as INFP while still resonating with being a feeling lead in Jung's original work. She had to change definitions and psyche libido dynamics to justify her INFP self-type narrative, essentially screwing up all the introverts in her lipstick service to Jung. For example, official MBTI INFJs, correctly typed by dichotomies, tend to be more of IFN in classic Jungian type grouping, whereas Myers labeled INFJs NI dominant. Conversely, official MBTI INFPs, correctly typed by dichotomies, tend to be more of classic Jungian INF type grouping, while Myers labeled them FI dominant. Aaron Grant built his misleading EIEI IEIE model on such misunderstanding by Myers Briggs, switching the third letter from Myers EIEI IEEE stacks, probably because he thought the Myers stack was too unbalanced. But Jung's ideas represent a fluid developmental model rather than fixed stacks. If anything, Jung's concept aligned more closely with what we now call nucleus stacks, EEII, IIEE, as the natural default leanings, where the top and bottom alphas of the psyche dynamically influence each other for balance. Jung never imposed rigid stacks. The nucleus stacks, EEII, IIEE pattern best reflects the organic interplay he described. At the end of the day, MBTI pays lip service to Jung, but is in practice a sum of parts labeling exercise. For example, official MBTI ENTP encompasses all things E, N, T, P, and respective combination EN, ET, EP, NT, MP, TP, ENT, EMP, ETP, NTP, and ENTP have in common. Personality Cafe's Rachful was spot on about that. Historical context and criticism. Renierse, in his analysis The Case Against Type Dynamics, dismantled the type dynamics theory, highlighting the lack of empirical support for Grant hypothesis. Nonetheless, the Grantian model became popularized online by figures like Behrens and Beebe, spreading like a wildfire. It's your prerogative to use Grantian model if you wish, but don't mix systems or you will pretty much mistype everyone. Hekatior expands the true depth and complexity of Jung's insight, avoiding reductionist categorizations. Conclusions. If you want to deepen your understanding of typology beyond surface level Grantian functions labels, exploring Hekatior's deep processing layers is the next step. It respects Jung's original vision while expanding it with a theoretical framework, something Grantian functions clusters can't offer. Stay tuned for more.